Our webinar today will be about SmartSuite Automation for transparent insights and a proactive business management. But there are some additional themes in which Tom and I will cover today. It was very hard to come up with a title for this webinar because there are many themes that Tom will talk about. But we're very happy to have him. He is the CEO and founder of Proactive Data Monitoring, and he'll give you some information about his company. But first, I would like to share a couple resources that you can find about SmartSuite. Feel free to scan the QR code, and I'll put the links in the chat in just a little bit. If you're looking for tooltips, best practices, or to interact with our community, join our SmartSuite community. Our partners are engaged in here. Our team members are engaged in here. It's a really great way to get connected. And getting started with SmartSuite or mastering the SmartSuite or learning about specific features and how to use them can be done in the SmartSuite Academy. These are instructor-led short videos that help you understand how to use the product, the fundamentals, and even the more specific intricacies of the platform, such as formulas, automations. And then our LinkedIn page is a great way to stay up to date on the community news, but also learn about product updates. What's the latest with SmartSuite? Events. Not only is this a social media account, but it is more so community news and understanding what we're up to here at SmartSuite. So feel free to scan the code, but I'll put the links in the chat. Secondly, we have a variety of live training, live support resources for you, like this webinar. However, we host daily office hours with a product specialist. I host a couple days a week, and you join. It's available every weekday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific. Feel free to stop in, ask a question, or even just join to listen into other people. Live webinars like this one, they are weekly, they are use case focused, product update focused, thematic, and we've always loved to hear ideas for themes. And then lastly, we have training classes that we host the last Thursday of every month. And they're two parts, a fundamental session and then a building session. And you have the opportunity to get certified for free at the end of the session. So be sure to join if you're looking to get started or if you're looking to advance your current skills and even get certified on the platform. So I'm going to stop sharing here and I'll go ahead and put the links in the chat for everyone right now so you can go ahead and join our resources there. Now, I would like to, I'll first introduce myself if you don't know me. My name's Emma Montgomery and I'm a product specialist, but I work with many customers and Tom being one of them a long while back. The first meeting I had with Tom, I remember very distinctly. And he began the conversation by saying, "How long is this meeting?" I said 30 minutes. And he said, "We're going to need a lot more time than that." And not everyone has quite the urgency to find solutions to challenges you're experiencing in your business. However, he was at the same playing field. He had a solution. It wasn't working for him. He was looking for something better. And his urgency to find the solution has brought him into the SmartSuite champion he is today. But as a business owner who runs his business on SmartSuite, he wants to share his best practices, some themes that he's realized throughout his journey with us. And it has been an honor to work alongside you. I know Brian is very involved with you, but I sense the urgency to find a better solution, and we're more than happy to help you and support you with us. So feel free to introduce yourself, give us some background, and then we can get started. All questions can be put in the Q&A, and we will be answering live questions. Tom and myself will after the event.
Thank you. As Emma mentioned, I've been with SmartSuite. I think the first call was actually November of 2022, if I'm not mistaken. And I think January 1st, my team looked at me and I said, "By the way, we're using a new system now." And they all looked at me and said, "What are you talking about?" My name is Tom Maggio. I am CEO of Proactive Data Storage and Monitoring, which is a software development / manufacturing company for surveillance storage needs. I also have another company, which is more of the company that we're going to focus on today, which is CCTV Services, which is a full service physical security integration company. We do security cameras, the key fobs, the intercoms, and all that other good stuff. And to go where I started, I'll say the bad word, although I don't know if I'm allowed to. I started with Airtable, and they were giving me major challenges, and I couldn't really get to where I needed to go. There was a lot of development. I needed a lot of hand-holding, and that was even after using them for a year, and I still wasn't getting the data I needed. One thing is what made the complete change for me is this two-way syncing thing. That made my life so much easier, and we're going to show you why. But from the outset of the whole thing, it really came down to how do I use SmartSuite as a tool for my business? Now, we all came out of COVID. We all understand as business owners, if there's business owners in here, certainly give me a thumbs up. But if you're a business owner or if you started your business recently, going through COVID as a business, if you're a business owner, you'll get this reference. I quite literally had to go day by day and figure out how much revenue I was bringing in versus how much money I had to spend in order to bring that in. And then I would call my employees and say, hey, you're working today or you're on the bench. That's how difficult things got. But what I learned was efficiency. So then I needed a system to be able to implement efficiency. And that's where everything started within SmartSuite. And that's where we've really come today. And I'm hoping Emma and I were talking, I guess it was probably last month or a month and a half ago. And she said, we were going over my experience and what I've done. And she said, would you be willing to do this? I said, look, if I could offer a value to your clients, you guys have been so pivotal in my company. It's really quite groundbreaking. I'm going to give you an example. Okay. And we're going to start this off with a bang. First off, guys, I know I talk really fast. I'm a New Yorker. I'm on 2 cups of coffee. I haven't even had my third. Please don't be afraid to interrupt. I know I told Emma, if there's questions coming in, don't be afraid to tell me to slow down or stop. But I'm here to bring value to you guys, not because I have any type of interaction with SmartSuite, but just the tool that SmartSuite is as a business owner and how easy it is. I can tell you, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you're overthinking it. It's the easiest way I could do this. By the way, I'm a New Yorker. Fair warning, I tend to be very blunt. That being said, I think, where would you like to start, Emma? Where would you like me to start?
No, I think if we just walk through what you've achieved in SmartSuite, you can highlight a specific, like that dashboard view, I think is very valuable. I know you have many different processes in your business, but go ahead and we can just dive into some specific use cases and the dashboard, I think, illustrates it very well.
Are you able to see my dashboard?
Got it. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, there is a lot that goes on within what I've done. And as Emma mentioned, my entire business runs off of SmartSuite. And it's interesting because just before I even get started, I want to give you guys an example, right? So I get on a call today. I am having my morning meeting, and my project manager calls up and says, hey, by the way, for whatever reason, we were supposed to have a large extension ladder on this job, and it was overlooked. Okay. So immediately I look at, how can I do that in SmartSuite? How can I actually take something that can be overlooked, and how do I put that and implement that into SmartSuite so it becomes an automated process? That is how I think of everything within the system. And I want to be really clear here to everybody on this call. The system you utilize should be used in order to gain efficiencies, in order to lower your expenses. The more efficient you become, the less it costs you. It's really as easy as that, right? So I'm looking at it saying, okay, what can I do? Now, again, where I started to where I am today are 2 very different things. And it's difficult for me to remember the things that I've had to implement. But let's just look at this dashboard real quick. I want to know, without micromanaging my employees, are my employees doing well? So I have many different departments. I have inside sales, I have outside sales, I have a service department. I have an accounts receivable and accounts payable. I have an installation department. I have installation coordinating. I have service. I have product development and project and product management. All of that has to get kept track of, right? So where and how do I keep track of it? Really easy once you start putting all of this together. Now, the key is minimal data entry. So what you want, and this is where that two-way sync came in handy so well, is if I have a starting point of a workflow and I say, okay, here's where a client comes into my system. Then from where that client goes, then it goes to the inside sales. Then from inside sales, it goes to outside sales. From outside sales, it goes to my accounts receivable. From my accounts receivable, it splits. And then it goes to my product development and my product procurement, to my installation. If you follow that workflow, and then we say, okay, so what does that process look like? By the way, guys, if I'm overwhelming you, I apologize. But the truth of the matter is, I didn't know any of this when I started. And when I started figuring out what I can do, this actually helped me organize all my thoughts. So let's go into this. Leads by owner. So this is my inside sales. So if I click on any one of these things, if I hover over, I can see who and what is doing what. What are my inside leads coming from? Where are they coming from? Here are my people. I have Paul, I have Jim, I have Derek, I have Devin, I have Brian, I have Emra, Mike P. So I have these people, and I could see now Paul, Jim, and Derek are my inside. These are outside people, and they could bring in leads as well. So I can see here, everybody could see here, that red line, that's my threshold line. Pivotal for me to recognize, to see who's on track and who's not. So take Derek, okay? He's green. I'm speaking to his manager. Hey, guys, why is Derek off goal by 13 weeks out of the 43? Let's sit down and have a conversation with Derek. I sat down with him back at week 32, and I could see his lead came up. Okay, but it didn't hold true. I also had a conversation with him at week 20. What did we do? What did we try to do? Guys, this is insight into your business that you may not even recognize is actually there. We are so busy actually running and operating our businesses that we don't look at some of the trends and some of the things that are happening. This is what I've used SmartSuite for, okay, is the dashboards and all the data, and I could dig in. And guys, we have a lot. It's not that it's hairy. It's all very structured and very organized, but we have a lot of data that goes out there because I'm running all these fields. So if I'm looking at all of this and I'm saying, okay, Jim is clearly awesome. How do I make Derek more like Jim? So I bring Derek in. Derek, what is Jim doing that you're not? And he gives me a direct answer. Okay, good. We're going to have you do the same thing. That was back here in week 42. Look at Derek since. Now, this is the week of Thanksgiving, so everybody was short for a short week for us, right? So look at Derek now. He's above goal. But this is because I found the trend. I found what was going wrong. How could I have found what was going wrong? Listen, I have my gut feelings. I can see the numbers. I see who I'm cutting commission checks to, but that's not good enough. How do we direct the actual problem? In business, what I've learned, and I've had my own business, and I've run my own business since 2006. Reacting is the worst possible place you can be. Again, this is where COVID has helped me. So when I'm looking at this data, let's go right down to the next one. Revenue by category. This is something I've been screaming and stomping for all this time. So here I'm able to track where my revenue is coming from, whether it's my sales, my service installations, or whatever else, SLAs. My SLA this year was at 0.9% when I started the year. I knew I had to grow my SLA revenue. This is recurring revenue. That revenue has grown substantially. My sales revenue is between 75 to 80%. Here's the problem with revenue doing that. Me looking at this, I know I have to grow my service revenue. Why? Anybody runs their own business, and if anybody does, sales is not a constant stream up. Sales is up and down. So if I'm having revenue dip and 75% of my revenue is going to dip when I have that valley, I've got an issue. So I need to create stability here. These have all grown. This was 85% 6 months ago. Okay. So now what we're starting to see is the trends coming back the other way. I don't need reports. I don't need to sit there and work till 3 o'clock in the morning to look at every single closing ratio and all these numbers. It's all right here, and I'm watching it in real time. Okay. Lead statuses. What are my lead statuses? What these guys are doing? What is the value of those leads? What's quoted? What's won? What's declined? Okay, how much do I have in declined revenue? I've got $4.3 million in declined revenue. How much do I have in won revenue? I've got quoted revenue. I've got 4.1. How much do I have in one? I've got 3.5. Looking at these numbers allows me and triggers me to my thinking of how do I fix the issue? That's what this is designed for. It's designed, my whole dashboard here is designed to draw my attention to things for me to get creative about, to understand and say, okay, where do I need to address something? I'm a guy who, and I'm a business owner who is very easily put. I'm obsessed with perfection, knowing I'm never going to get there, but I have to find the weaknesses in order to grow. Doing this way and how simple it is in order to implement. If you can't tell, I'm a sales guy. Okay. I'm a sales guy. I know sales. SmartSuite, not my gig. Like, if you said, okay, Tom, it's no code, anything, that's all cool. That's all well and good, but it's still not my gig. I built this myself. All of this I did myself with the help of Brian Dolan, who, for those of you who know Brian, know how fantastic he is. For those of you who don't, he's mine. Forget I even mentioned his name. No, he is one of the best resources I've ever had. If I have a question, I email him, hey, I'm trying to do this. And he'll email me back, hey, this is the formula, do it, drop this in there. Done in 15 minutes. It's intense how easily and quickly this can be accomplished. I'm not going to go through line by line here, but you guys get a gist to everything that I'm looking at. Here are my job types. What am I selling more of? What am I doing more of? Now, this is an interesting one. Help desk. Why are my clients calling me? Now, this one is really interesting. My clients are calling me because camera's out. Okay, camera's out. If I look up here, service type, my service call is billable versus in warranty. Again, for those business owners, in warranty means it costs me money, not my client. Why do I have so many in warranty calls? I have so many in warranty calls because my cameras are out. Then I start to define that. Why am I doing this? And this asking the right questions is where this is steering me. Now, all of a sudden, I know where to steer my attention to fix something. Okay, my installers need more training. Okay, I need to draw my attention to this. We need to start being more communicative. We need to start doing this. We have to get to the root causes of what some of these things could be when we're trying to look for these efficiencies. Service revenue, my parts costing. So this is parts cost per job. Again, all of my procurement's done. So I could project, this is all for next month. I know I have to spend $46,000. If you look up here, week by week, I can see what my installation income is. So I have my income versus my cost of goods sold, right? Then if I had my project, if I showed you my project board, you could see I have a list of all of my P&Ls per project. So we're tracking what that job, what profit I'm getting per job. We're tracking that in real time. It's pretty intense. Help desk. So we've got the reasons, parts cost percentage. My goal was 20%. So we can see here I'm at 17% parts cost percentage, and that's a win, right? So I'm doing well there. I'm buying well. And then if we go all the way down here, okay, sharing some confidential information. Here's my year-to-date usable versus collected. For me, is we collect payment in full sometimes. So I need to know what that money looks like. But then when I collect that payment in full, when do I use that money? So I'm using that money, what could be 3 months down the road. So here's the difference between the dark blue, the light blue, and the black, as where is that revenue leveling off to? So it's all keeping track. It's actually, this is doing a better job than QuickBooks when it comes to the reality. Now, what we always do at the end of the week, we reconcile and we say, what did I spend? What did I bring in? Right? At the end of the month, when we close out our months, we make sure everything's all up to speed. And again, we reconcile all the accounts. So that's a really bird's eye view of all of the different departments that come into one dashboard. And I think I gave you some insight into what this stuff triggers me to start thinking as a business owner and how I'm utilizing SmartSuite to run my business, to draw my attention, to do one thing and one thing only. not be working in the business, be working on the business. That's our jobs as business owners, is to work on the business growth, to work on finding efficiencies, not being in the middle of the thick of things. And then we become the bottleneck. It's part of the rule 101 in business is the CEO becomes the bottleneck because we want to get our hands in everything and do everything. Really good example is I just had a meeting just 15 minutes, it ended 15 minutes before this call, about what I'm going to do in a form that I'm going to create in order to avoid that slip up that wound up happening. Now, how did that slip up happen? Somebody didn't enter their data. And then the other person who was supposed to review it wouldn't have known. So can I blame the person who reviewed something that was missing? Of course not. But if the data was in there and then the person who's meant to review it didn't review it, now what? Now I got the person who reviewed it. They made the mistake. It comes down to accountability. When you have systems and processes in place and you have a system that's automated the process, you're golden. Because now you can hold everybody accountable to what needs to be actually seen without any guesswork. There's literally no guesswork as to what goes on. And there's none of this. There's none of the pointing fingers, which if you have employees, I'm sure everybody here understands that can be incredibly frustrating. So I'm going to pause and say, where would you like me to go from here? You got questions? I could go deeper, wherever you'd like me to go.
Sure. No, thank you, Tom. That was amazing. One question we're getting, and by the way, we're getting great feedback. You're a wonderful presenter. So people are excited about that. They're interested in what the biggest problem is that you were looking to solve, which I know you hit on.
God. Okay. I think I could answer this.
Okay.
Oh God, but then I have to show the system behind it. So the biggest problem I wanted to solve was I wanted to stop being reliant on people. So what I mean by that is if I have an employee that knows everything about my business and they have a certain process, that I would have to sit down and I would literally have to train somebody for the next 3 weeks on how to do it if that person left me. And this all started because somebody left me and it was a very important role. And we actually terminated the employment. But when that was gone, I couldn't deal with it anymore. And I was stuck. So I was stuck doing it myself. And I'm going, there's got to be a better way. I can't be so reliant on people where I'm handcuffed. So what I did was I tried to create a system to say, okay, here are 4 fields that you need to enter. In fact, I'm going to share something else with you guys. I'm going to stop sharing and then I'll reshare. But just so you guys get an idea of what I'm referring to and where I wanted to go with this. So what I did, and again, I know my version of SmartSuite is really in depth, but if you guys can see what this is. So this is installation scheduling, right? This is where I've labeled any and all fields that have to be done. Ticket types, here are particular ticket types. So this is a single select field. Here are the field types, right? So these field types, date range, enter start date, definition, and time. So we have internal fields, and then we have external fields. These external fields are what my guys out in the field fill out. The internal fields, depending on the ticket type, are what they fill out. Notice one thing here, everybody. Notice there's not a lot of fields. There's 4 fields for my person inside to fill out per ticket type. There's 2 to 3 fields filled out for my external. Here are the status types. Now I'm going to show you another screen. Here are all of my linked fields. Okay. And then here are all the fields that are done and brought in automatically versus those 4 fields. This is automated. This right here was a major issue. This took me so much training. So this is a workflow, guys. This is what this is. This is the start and end point. If I just scroll through this here really quick, you get a gist as to what I'm trying to accomplish with this. And as I'm doing this, because what we're doing is we're building it out even more, and I'm starting to create something that me and Brian were discussing and is a large undertaking for me, but this is more about goal tracking and KPIs at the umpteenth level, where you have individual KPIs, then you've got team KPIs, then you've got company KPIs, and it tracks everything accordingly, a pyramid going up. So we could hold the people accountable and see where we're tracking. SmartSuite gives me that ability. It's the spreadsheet and creating out where everything goes is actually more complicated than creating the process itself. I hope that answers your question.
I think that was great. We actually have a couple more questions. I think that also answered Clive's question about mapping out the process. This is an interesting one. So why build a CRM instead of buying one?
Oh, I did that too. Okay. Nobody, again, guys, I apologize if I come across offensive. I apologize, but I'm going to say this as bluntly as I possibly can. When you buy somebody else's CRM, they don't care about you. It's their CRM. It came from their mind. I had several different CRMs, all of which cost me double, if not triple, what SmartSuite cost me. I built the system around me. I'm not building it around somebody else's vision of a CRM system. You're 100% right. There are a lot of CRMs. Some of them are more cost effective than not, but that came from somebody else's head. It came from what they thought your business should look like. It doesn't come from your head of what your business should look like. And what I can tell you right now, there's not another security company in the country or the world that has the processes that I have. That came from my head. I run the business the way that I want to run it. I manage it the way that I want to run it. I have control of the growth. I have control of the loss. It's all on me. It's on my shoulders. So I'm going to build a system that's going to be built around that premise.
That's
Sorry,
perfect.
that cold
No,
hard
that's perfect.
that I've learned the hard way.
Thank you. Thank you. More questions. Someone's curious about how many solutions you have running the various departments and functions in your business.
Here you go.
You need the groupings, which are coming out shortly, but okay. Another question. Yeah, there's quite a bit there. And they all
So,
Mhm.
guys, some of these, a lot of people, here's one of the other keys, right? Is I'll jump into this for 1 second. Okay. So here's my installation schedule, right? If I go to my grid view, okay. So you can see all this data. I see all this data. My technicians see a fraction of this data. My installation coordinator sees a little bit more. The key is being able to actually set permissions based off of fields and who's editing and who's viewable and everything else. Some of this, when you're creating what I created here, some of it is a little daunting, right? There's a lot of work behind the scenes to get that done. But when you bite the bullet and you get it done, it's something beyond anything you've ever could have imagined. Honestly, it's really quite remarkable how much information you could get so quickly by being able to do this. And I just added a whole nother process to myself this morning that I'm going to be doing tonight.
Love it. Love it. Question here. There's often a challenge with no-code tools to assess value compared to a point solution that does one thing. How do you think about the value that you get from SmartSuite?
Destroys any other value from your point system, because now what you need to do is you need to create several point systems depending on how much you have going on, how many departments you have, and how granular you want to get. Here's the mistake that I made. I've been in business since 2006. I started with no system and spreadsheets, right? My work orders was a spreadsheet. So we had Excel. Then we went from Excel to a CRM, minor CRM. Then we moved to a more highly efficient CRM, which was much higher costed. Then that wasn't doing us any justice. And then we went to something called ConnectWise, which, depending on what kind of industry you're in, you may have heard of. Huge software, huge costs. They like to continue every year to raise my costs. Okay. So I have many departments. If you have one thing only, what I didn't do when I actually ran my business and what I didn't think of doing was doing all of the legwork from the outset. I reacted. So for me and me building this out after the fact was actually harder for me to do than building it out from the beginning. Meaning, if you're going to grow your business and you go, all I need right now is this one little thing, where do you want your business to be? Because if you want your business to be beyond that 1 point system, you might need something a little bit more efficient in order to sustain that growth. Because ultimately, what you're going to wind up having to do is then start to come backwards and go retroactively. If you're not retroactive, then you lost all your records, right? So it's you got to put that really is that value for me. I might be a little biased because I'm not a 1 point system. I have QuickBooks, which we run our accounting through, which we do an audit of. I have a quoting tool, PandaDoc, right? So we have that system as well. Now, all of that is linked directly together via Zapier or anything else that we do. So it's all automated. In fact, any quote that gets won in Zapier automatically creates a bill of material in SmartSuite, which gets linked manually, it's a single click of a button, linked to an installation or a project so that we can do that parts cost. If the process isn't done and I get an email saying, hey, here's a job that just got scheduled, but I don't have my bill of material, I know my guy did not review the quote. If he didn't review the quote and the bill of material to link it, I know that there's a possibility of a ball getting dropped.
Perfect. Well said, Tom.
What do you got?
Said. We have another question about how are you automating the linking?
How am I automating the linking? It
Yeah.
depends on where you're talking. Again, it depends on where in the workflow we are, right? The linking that for the project is actually automated long before to the location. It's automated long before it's actually linked to it's linked from the lead, which goes into a quote, which once that quote is won, it goes into a accounts receivable, my accounts receivable tab. Then once that gets done, it's an automation that creates a new project ticket, which automatically follows that same link. So all of that's all automated through the automation. So when you do an automation, you could follow the link to location all the way through. So whatever links you have or whatever title fields you have, you could link that all the way through when you set up an automation, which is super easy to do.
Perfect. That sounds good. How do you pair your documentation or training with SmartSuite?
How do I pair?
And we may need some additional follow-up on this one. I'm assuming what he means is how you trained your employees in SmartSuite or how you scaled SmartSuite for your employees, potentially. But Isaac, feel free to follow up on that one.
I got a great one. Let me find an email. Stop sharing, and I'll give you an idea of a process that I created at around 9 o'clock at night because I was getting aggravated. And then I took some snapshots from my cell phone, circled it, and said, this is what you do. It was really very cut and dry.
Yeah, I think just to answer, since I do work with a lot of people in implementations and the success of scaling out to teams, the most important thing is building a solution that's easy to use and training your employees to use it in that way. So process owners develop the solution, how it's intended to work. Of course, staff members have feedback. The good news is they go right to the process owner and they can make changes easily. They don't have to go through admin, the actual software admin, or reach out to software to make those changes. So I'm assuming what Tom did and what many people do is they build out this really great system that's very easy to use, and they train their employees to use it in the way that it was intended.
So you guys should be able to see my screen now. Yes.
Yeah.
This is an email I put together 7:30 at night, excuse me. My text, but then what I did was I took images, highlighted, go to parts used, select the product from your truck. So this is me implementing a truck inventory, right? And then what happens when they select this product, what happens is it goes against the service ticket. Once it goes against the service ticket, that product has a cost associated. So once that cost gets assigned to that service ticket with the labor, it automatically sends an email to my accounts receivable department to invoice for that product. But it's all being done right from here. So they select this, select done. Once you select done, you will be back to the service ticket. From there, select the part you selected, select the use quantity,
Perfect.
enter use stock, select
Yeah,
save.
that's great. And I like the screenshots of the mobile app. A lot of Tom's business is out in the field. So that's a great segue into using the mobile app. And this is the standard operating procedures on how to do something. So that's phenomenal. I don't often see that, but that's what we always recommend. We have a question about using forms. Do you happen to use forms on your website for leads and customer ticket requests?
No, I do not. That is a good question. I use forms more for internal practices and data collection, right? For my service, say an example, a client calls up and I have let's go here. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. Service form. What's important to note, and this gets really complicated. The premise of this was somebody who's coming in new, doesn't have any experience. How do they know whether or not a client is billable or they're in warranty? And what dictates that information all comes from my locations and my companies, right? And that's done based off of automations. So if I install it, the completion date a year later, that company will automatically go into billable, right? Or warranty expired. Okay. So if I take this and I go into the form, and I'll give you a good idea as to what that looks like. My person inside, the person who picks up the phone, will call the client or pick up the phone and get this form. So they have to link it to the location. What's your location? What's your client name? What's the name? What's your phone number? What's your email? Not every single time do I have the client that's on file actually the one calling. And for us, that's a security risk. Say Emma calls up and says, hey, I want access to Tom's cameras. I can't do that, right? I have certain liabilities. So type of system. If I say cameras, it's going to populate different issues. So now what's going to happen is all this information goes to my help desk. Should I actually need a help desk ticket? If it goes to service, it'll automatically calculate whether or not it needs service based on the criteria. So I created the formulas and say, okay, if this and this, that will equal create service ticket. And it'll automatically create the service ticket. That's how I currently use forms, not to generate sales and leads as of right now. I'm not there yet. I have an outside team and we have a lot of call-ins and we've got 15,000 accounts in CCTV services. So a lot of that kind of comes by its nature. It's more about keeping track of my internal staff and what they're doing and making it efficient for them. And to put it plainly, eliminating any decision-making that they have to make and doing that through automations and through processes so that I know they're making the same decisions I would make because I created the system to make that decision for them.
Awesome. That's perfect. Trying to see if anyone else has any more questions. You have a lot of records. I know you're on an enterprise account. Someone's impressed with the amount of data you have in here. And that's what SmartSuite's a database, so that's what we're meant to do. We do have a question about, you take calls for incoming leads ever?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and how does that work?
Through our opportunities, if a lead comes in, where's my opportunities? So right from here, source. If you look, they fill in the data and there's a call in right there. Here's a referral. NCE type of thing we get. Call in, email, LinkedIn. So we keep track of where all these leads are coming from.
Perfect. Got it. All right. Is there anything else you have to share or any ideas? I know, and when I've worked with many different customers and implementations, and I understand not everyone has the sense of urgency that Tom does. but at least maybe you could point to how you got over the hump of implementing this. And I know you spent a lot of time, and most everyone I work with hasn't quite used SmartSuite to this capability. But how did you get over that learning hump? Like you said, you don't have a background in developing this, which you don't need one. But
I
maybe you
didn't
could
have
talk
a
a little
choice.
bit on that.
I didn't have a choice. I needed something to help me. I know I did. I know it was for those of you, who've heard the term burn the boats, that was it for me. I needed a system. I did not want to scale my business without being highly efficient. And that's where it was a switch for me, knowing that I needed to grow my business without growing my expenses. Give you it, that's really what it came down to. Growing my business, my gross revenue at 58% and growing my expenses at 0.01% is just proof in the pudding. That's what I did in 2023. I didn't need any more people to enter data. I needed people to do their jobs, and I needed to be able to hold them accountable. The thing that I could share most of all is, for me, when you ask me what was my trigger, I had no choice. Why did I tough it through? Because I had to. Right? We're business owners. We don't have a choice. I didn't have option B. I'm not college educated. I went to college for 3 months and we were learning how to use a calculator for 3 days. And I raised my hand. I said, how much longer are you going to turn around and teach me how to use a calculator? And he said, we have another 2 weeks on this. I said, well, I'm done and I'm wasting my money. And I walked out and I went back to work. I wish I was college educated. I'd probably be 10 years ahead of myself right now. But this to me was a tool for me to understand my business, create the efficiencies, keep my expenses low, but also have a vision and go after that vision, not give up when it gets hard, not say, oh crap, I got to be up till 2 o'clock in the morning. For us business owners, that's part of the life. I've got 2 small children. I got a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. He'll be 7 actually in 3 weeks. But they know daddy works, daddy does what he's got to do, because of the fact that I'm able to accomplish certain things. Now I'm able to sit there and go on my phone and look at this stuff and say, okay, what's going on? So we do something else. Here's a really good example that I want to show everybody. Daily objectives. Okay. Every morning at 9 a.m., every afternoon at 1:30 and at 4:30. My internal team comes together. We review what is on our daily objectives. This is helping us. This is a typical template that has, when I say change the way we do business, everybody's busy. Everybody's running around. They all got way too much stuff to do, blah, 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 all of that. But how does that actually take into account getting the job done? Especially if we're wearing many hats. So what I said is, you know what? Let's use this really easy template. Let's use this and let's just keep track of all of our goals, and we could sit down and we could get an overview as to what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, on a moment-to-moment basis. When my GM needs to add something into it for somebody, he adds it in. And then what's to say they don't forget? 3 times a day, we spend 15 minutes reviewing the daily objectives. Right? So it's making SmartSuite work for you. And that's why, if I could circle back to the idea of when somebody says, why not just go to a CRM? Because a CRM doesn't work for me. I got to pay them to actually work. So this here, the tool itself is what works for me. I created what I wanted, and I could continue to do. I do it every single day. I create more ideas on how to better run my business.
Perfect. Thank you, Tom. That's very well said. It seems everyone has their questions answered. In fact, that means you did a really good job. People, I feel like you covered everything very well. And we appreciate you hosting this. We appreciate you as a customer. It's been extremely entertaining and fun to work with you. And we are very excited to see where this goes with you. And I hope this helps business owners and people who are looking to scale out SmartSuite get inspired. I'm sure it has. And one last question before we end. Was there a big epiphany about the tool that allowed you to jump forward in your solution development? I remember we were on a call and I showed you something. I can't remember specifically what it was, but you shouted, you jumped up, you were so excited, and you showed me like 5 different things you had to do in your previous season to accomplish one thing.
It was two-way syncing.
Yes, that's right. Okay. Yeah, by syncing, you don't even need to sync tables, you just link them, but it
Yeah.
goes bidirectionally, it can go across solutions.
Yeah, it's game changing for me, right? Like guys, you saw the tip of a mountain in regards to you saw the tip of the iceberg in regards to my system. Okay. If I showed you all the data and I helped explain it, and it's funny, I showed my sister who's a chiropractor. One person, she has my mother who's the assistant. She's got medications, and vitamins that she recommends. She has her patients, she has her schedule. Very simple. I showed her this and she goes, this is incredible. This is Tom, I'm running 18 different spreadsheets right now trying to keep track of this. I built her solution for her in about an hour. Not exaggerating. It was that easy. All right, here's what you need. You need your cost of goods sold. Here's a quick little formula. Here's what you got to do. And now you can do everything right from your cell phone. My mother, who hates every single system there is, utilizes SmartSuite right from her phone to schedule my sister. Right? Looking at this stuff is critical to being able to operate. It's the insight that you need to run your business. And if you guys have any questions, I'm available. Shoot me an email or whatever. If you want to reach out to SmartSuite to get in contact with me, reach me on LinkedIn.
Thanks, Tom.
The reality is it should be looked at as the insight and the tool to help you work on your business and your business growth. That's what this should be. And yes, you should have full control of any software you run. You should have full control over it. If somebody else is going to design it for you, meaning like you have a CRM system from ConnectWise and they really designed it for IT staff, not the type of business you are, it's not going to work. You need to build your own. That's from my perspective.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. I really do think people had value from this, and we'll continue to share this with our audience. We really appreciate you taking the time to host this with us. And I think people are very inspired. So we appreciate you, and we're grateful to be working with you, and we're really excited to see how many more processes you can come up with, along with what you came up with this morning. I'm sure we'll hear more about that.
Everybody, I hope I was able to bring some value to you guys and help you.
Yes, for me too. Every day I have to articulate the value and help people and help them improve the way they're doing things now. So I've definitely learned some ways of expressing this from you. So thank you. It was very valuable to us as well.
Very welcome. You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure. As always, you guys are awesome. You guys rock. By the way, the other thing that did help me with SmartSuite is the staff at SmartSuite. I'm not just saying this. Quite literally, Emma's been tremendous. Anybody I've come in contact in SmartSuite has been, they know the answers and there's no excuses. There's no nonsense. It's here's what you need. Here's what you got to do. Yes, we could do it. No, we can't do it. And then I turn around and I don't know who the B is. If that's Brian, if that is Brian says, I don't know, Tom. And then I tell Brian, no, we got to do this. We're not getting off until we do. And then we figure it out. But that's the beauty is we could figure it out. Guys, to everybody here, when it comes to running business, if you think it's hard to develop a software to run your business, you might not be in business because there's going to be a lot of difficulties in business. The best thing you can do is go through the work to create simplicity and sustainability. I see a lot of people come through my doors. I've helped a lot of people start their own businesses, a lot. And then I watch them go, ooh, I'm an entrepreneur. And then when things get hard and they got to go knock on doors and they got to go hit the streets, walking, trying to make sales and do business, that's where they give up. Don't give up. And that comes with your own system. Whatever it is you implement, whatever it is you do, you have to keep moving. Otherwise, it won't go anywhere, especially when it gets hard. That's why I'm all gray and I got no hair.
Thank you, Tom. This has been also entertaining. We always enjoy your humor, but also your wisdom. Thank you so much again for joining. And this has been really great experience for everyone. So we appreciate you and we're excited to see how far you go with SmartSuite. Most importantly, with your business. We're excited to contribute to that.
Excited too. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time. And again, I hope I was able to bring some value to you guys. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Tom. Have a
Thank
good one, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Bye.